Michael, would you guys confirm on your end that you're also seeing the recording? There we go, I got it.
Not just yet, there we go.
Yep, just came through.
All right, so hello everybody. So this is me over here on the left-hand side, but figured we'd just throw up intros on the slide to get the ball rolling. But my name is Jason Marino, and I look after Teams platform for our Microsoft Global Customer Success Organization. Have some amazing people joining us today. We got Mr. Jonathan Danowitz from Ernst & Young, who leads, amongst other things, the Microsoft Teams adoption. He's going to share some great feedback, advice, experience, and some of the impact that they've had in the context of what we're discussing today. And then one of my partners in crime on this program, V-Team, if you will, that we've created is Emma Ledger, who's one of our global customer success managers out of the UK, who will be speaking today. So both of you, thank you so much for joining. Such a pleasure. Really looking forward to having some fun with the two of you. I also didn't want to leave out two legends who are behind the scenes here, who are also a part of this V-Team and are going to be on the chat to answer your questions as we go. So if you feel comfortable, absolutely pop off mute. We're going to pause regularly as we go throughout the day to answer questions. But yesterday we had a lot of folks. We did this for the Eastern time zones yesterday. We had a lot of folks throwing their questions up in chat. We'll absolutely get to every single one of them. Hopefully we can answer every single one of them, but we had a pretty good ratio of those yesterday. So with that, what are we going to cover today? So the first thing I'm going to go over is a little bit of background of why we're here and why this matters. I'll get through that pretty quickly so we can get into the meat of the discussion today. But I think it's really important to set a foundation because a lot has changed over the past year, and particularly over the past few months. And so that'll go into some real life scenarios of how Microsoft and how we're going to bring on Jonathan from Ernst & Young to talk about how we're leveraging this particular piece of technology and the impact that it's had on our people and our organizations. And then moving forward, how we can hopefully help you replicate this if you're interested in varying degrees within your organization. So with that, a little bit of background in here. And again, this is just me coming from my perspective and the ridiculous slides that I like to share, but hopefully it resonates with a lot of you. But my personal perspective and the conversations that I've been having both inside of Microsoft and with customers around the globe is it seems like our volume of work has increased a lot because we have so few people commuting and traveling, and you can be online at all times because we're all digital now in varying degrees, I recognize, of course. But our volume of work has increased a lot. And as a result, the volume of communication that we receive in the workplace has increased a lot. And just speaking personally, but I've seen a lot of big organizations such as Harvard Business Review and other reputable sources talk about the third piece, which isn't as sexy to talk about, but it's really honest, is I think a lot of people's responsiveness and anxiety has also increased a lot. That feeling that you need to respond to everything that comes into your chat or your inbox and all these onslaught of messages, it feels really hard to keep up with all the information that's coming at us from these tools that are supposed to make us more productive. And I always tell this to the folks inside of Microsoft. I go, look, guys, if you think we have it hard, we pretty much only use Microsoft tools internally. Most of you don't, right? Most of you have multiple collaboration tools and productivity suites. And so it becomes even tougher to manage that information coming at you. And what happens is many of us can't keep up. And so what we see a lot of times is that folks give up. They stop paying attention. They start ignoring everything. And it makes it really difficult to have a great organization-wide communication plan because folks just stop paying attention if they're falling behind. Now, look, many of us had to go digital really quickly last year. And again, varying degrees based on where you were as an organization, but we didn't necessarily have time to plan for the medium. Now, a lot has changed in the past year. And that's exactly what brings us together today because we do have this unique opportunity in front of us. While we did start off a little negative there, our goal wasn't to depress you. We do have some proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. And we're also not pointing fingers. The reason we know this is because we also struggle with it inside of Microsoft, right? I'd love to tell you that we're significantly better in the way that we manage this, but we're also a 300,000 person plus organization. We also struggle with getting eyes on the communications that are important from our corporate comms teams. So what if we told you that some customers are navigating this communication chaos very, very well, and they're enjoying 85% plus view rates on their organization-wide communications and enjoying 20% plus click rates on those same communications? Now, if you're not in corporate comms, that is an absurdly high view rate and click rate on corporate comms communications. Just for context, most emails that we send out and we hear our customers are sending out get 2 to 4% on click rates. So significant growth, especially if you're in a larger organization. And what if we told you this was all happening with one Microsoft Teams app? Now, I will say this, I'll give you the same caveat I gave the team yesterday. Everything we're going to discuss today is focused on one specific scenario and application in Teams, but that is only one part of the journey, and we're absolutely going to support your journey if you're interested in this initiative beyond just the initial application that we're going to show you here. Because this is about recreating and reinvigorating a communication strategy with your people. How do you use the technology you have to do something that you've never done before? Right. So I just want to call that out just so folks know we're not doing what I think we can do in our Q4 sometimes at Microsoft is we get really excited about one particular initiative, we go really hard on it, and then we kind of forget about what's the plan for longevity? What's the product roadmap here? So we absolutely have kept that in mind, and it's been amazing working with the team of the 6 customer success managers who all put this together. So quick step back for a second before we show you the scenario. I just want to call something out is most of you probably know this, but Microsoft Teams is a little more than 4 years old. And so we've seen a lot of organizations around the globe build some incredible experiences for Teams. And as you can imagine, we noticed a lot of patterns, ones that transcended industries, geographies, and even roles. But these common scenarios that many organizations were dealing with, they often just called it something different. And so Teams Engineering, when they saw that, they said, and this is Microsoft Teams Engineering saw that and said, this is a great opportunity. Let's start building some solutions that address the most common organizational scenarios. And so about a little less than 2 years ago, they built Microsoft Teams app templates. Now, these are, just to clarify, there's 48 of them available today on our docs page. These are tenant-wide, so you can give access to one person, you can give access to everybody or everyone in between. Tons of different options here. They are production ready, meaning these applications are ready to go. You can deploy them and use them as they are. But please remember this one, they are also open sourced. Right? A pen, unfortunately, isn't working, but they're also open source, meaning that if you want to customize or personalize them, the sky is the limit. These are sitting up on GitHub right now. So we'll get a lot of questions today on what can we do or can we do this? Sky's the limit. If we have the resources and if we have the developers available and we're going to try to support you in some of those efforts, absolutely happy to help that. But for the context of what we're doing, and you'll see what Ernst & Young is doing, the solution out of the box for this particular scenario we're going to discuss is pretty incredible. And when I say out of the box, that's just what's available for the deployment that we have sitting up on GitHub. Okay, so what's the scenario? Again, back to modern organization-wide communications. Hold me accountable for this. I said we've seen customers navigating this chaos well. I've seen that we've got 85% view rates and 20% click rates. Now, what if we told you that we can help you achieve similar success, and the way it's being done is by reaching your employees via chat? It may sound small, but we've seen incredible success because there's 2 things most people pay attention to every day. It's your text messages and it's your chat messages at work. Now, obviously, there's anomalies and enigmas, and not everybody necessarily follows that trend. But again, going back to the stats, is 85% view rates, 20% plus click rates are pretty absurd. And we've seen a lot of customers do that with a particular Microsoft Teams app template called Company Communicator. And so we want to introduce you to Company Communicator. Now, this promo video that we're going to show you here in a second is very 80s style, and I think it's very representative of the team who's helped put this together. We want to have fun when we do this. We want to build a community as we're going through this program, and we'll give you all the details here in a moment. We wanted to share this quick promo video with you so you can get a quick sneak peek of Company Communicator, and then we're actually going to show you what the experience looks like, and then Jonathan's going to talk through their strategy at Ernst & Young and the impact that it's had on them. So with that, about a minute video here that I'll show you, and then I'll come back on.
Finally done drafting this big announcement email, and just in time for jazzercise. Send. Hey Chris, did you get the email announcement I sent yesterday? Nobody has responded yet.
Oof, sorry. I must have skimmed right over it. We get so many.
Ugh, typical. Why do I even bother with email?
Try Company Communicator on Microsoft Teams. It's easy to use and reaches people right where they chat.
So you're saying I can send targeted communications without clogging up your inbox? Wowza! What a game changer.
Booyah! Happy to help.
All right, so pretty cheesy, but we really enjoyed putting that together as a team, I have to say. But you get the gist of it, right? It's pretty powerful, and I think it touches on some of the scenarios that we just reached on. But just to summarize here, so Company Communicator can send adaptive cards via Teams chat or to general channels in Teams. Now, unfortunately, my pen's not working, or I draw it for you. But over on the bottom right-hand side, those are the adaptive cards that users will see. And again, you'll see an example and a demo of this here in a moment. But you can reach everybody via one chat, via general channels of specific teams, and you can reach specific members. So you can send this to everybody, you can send it to nobody, and everything in between. You have a bunch of different options, and we'll walk you through it in a minute. And your messaging pipeline can actually reach well over 200,000. Jonathan and team last we spoke are sending this to over 320,000 people on a regular basis. So huge opportunity to reach your entire organization. There is one thing we do want to call out though, is this doesn't necessarily have to just be about Microsoft Teams either. Now, the solution and the app itself is built for Teams because that's where your people are, that's where you're communicating, collaborating, that's where everybody is, right? Now, Ernst & Young is all about Teams tips, and Jonathan's going to show you some of this. And they've done an incredible job, and they inspired us to actually deliver this program and what we're working on today. But we want to call out that if you want to leverage this at some point for company announcements, for leadership communications, for your employee pulse and well-being, et cetera, we're going to have templates available that we're giving with some best practices that we've seen other organizations working on. This is very much about your culture and what you want to achieve as a team as you're putting this together is what I'm ultimately trying to say. So don't let us selfishly just drive it down the Microsoft Teams route. Now, that said, it's pretty exciting to get Teams tips. A lot of people love them. Most of us here want our people to mature the way that they're using Microsoft Teams. And so that's where you're going to start. And as we get into the program, we're going to have templates available that are already being built as we speak. And again, much of this was inspired from Jonathan, who you're going to hear from here in a moment. So with that, I'm going to walk through the slides still, but Emma, is going to walk through sort of this click-through demo that we built that can show you what this looks like and the actual experience you have as a content creator and as a user. So Emma, I'll pop this over to you and feel free to go ahead.
Thank you so much. So, hey everyone, good to be here with you guys today. So here's our scenario for the demo. An organization has adopted Microsoft Teams and now wants to improve their maturity and their employee experience with Microsoft technology. The company communicator, as you're going to see, is going to allow IT and corporate comms to partner together on this user messaging. So let's first dive into how we can author our messages before we send these out to the users. So first, you'll create a team and a channel where communication content is discussed and created. So you can see this on the very left-hand side of the screen. Here we have the Contoso IT comms team and the general channel. On the top of the screen, you can see that we've added the Company Communicator Author app as a tab. This is where your content creators draft and send the communications. On the right-hand side, you can see where we can click and create a new message, and when we do so, a dialog box is going to appear. As if by magic, hopefully that will appear now for us. Perfect, thank you. So no, that's fine. It's I'm getting a little bit of lag on mine, so so not to worry. So so this is the dialog box, as you can see, where you're going to add all of your information. So you can add your title, your image URL, a summary, an author name, button title, and button URL. So first, we're going to create a title. Top tip here, short and sweet works best. You want to keep it descriptive but concise. Next, you're going to add your image URL. So this is what you'll then see on the right-hand side where Iron Man is. So we'll provide you with all the sizing details you need, but in short, it needs to be relatively small as an image file, as well as publicly available. And we'll provide guidance as to how you can share these kind of secure images if your organization requires it as well along the way.
Hey, Emma, do you mind if I pause you real quick? We just had a bunch of questions on this one yesterday, so I thought I might call it out. So as a part of this program, we're going to go into everything we're talking about in great detail. And for anybody who doesn't want to join, we're still happy to share the frequently asked questions that we put together. Long story short, about 10 of us who have gone through this process in detail with customers got together and said, let's create an all-encompassing FAQ document that's categorized. So for security, deployment, operational, et cetera, where we can leverage this as part of the program and then put it up on GitHub where the app is so folks can leverage it thereafter. Because we imagine we'll get some new questions out of this. This one comes up a lot. 1024 by 1024 and 25K or less is the actual image size. We will show you, if you don't know how to do it, how to compress your images to get to that size. And you can make an image secure on here as well. We've got some guidance on that. So we've thought through pretty much most of the questions you might have because we've gone through so many of these deployments already, but still feel free to ask them, of course, but I just wanted to call that out because we got a bunch of questions on it yesterday. All right, I'll shut up. Sorry, Emma.
No, that was a great call out. It's definitely one that I've been asked by lots of customers in the past. So yeah, fear not, guys. You know, we are here to support you with everything along the way. So we'll provide that to you after the session. So the next box down is where you'll be providing your summary. So this is where you want to be prioritizing general ideas over specifics of your message. So why are you sharing? Why is this important to your user? It's really key that you don't over communicate it, as this can reduce the incentive for your users to click your button and find out more. So now we're on to the author box, and this is where you let your recipients know who is sending the message. And this is really important because as you build out your comms strategy ongoing, you want your users to be able to differentiate who is going to be sending them different messages using Company Communicator. Next, we can give our button a title. So when I say button, you can this is what you can see on the Learn More here on the right-hand side of the dialog box. This is where you want to draft a quick and catchy call to action for your users to encourage interaction with that button so they can go through to all of the specifics of the message that you want to communicate. And finally, a button URL. So this is where you are adding all of your content. So this is a URL that takes your user to the website using your call to action button. So during the program, we are going to share with you lots of information about how you can track these clicks so you can really show the impact of your communication strategy and of your messages. And if we now click
Emma, do you mind if I pause one quick second too?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just figuring
That's
we'll
probably
get
a good
out some of
time
the
to
questions
pause.
that are probably coming in chat too. So summary, we got asked yesterday and a couple of times on what is the character limit. I actually don't know, so we're finding out from engineering as we speak, but I will say this. I put over 600 characters into the summary box yesterday with no issue as I was testing it. I would highly recommend that you don't put 600 characters into this box. Emma phrased it very, very well when she explained it, but this is about catching people's attention because ultimately what you want to do is either have a brief announcement or you want to point people to content. And that's what Ernst & Young does is they send people to one-pagers, which again inspired our campaign. The author, you only have to give, you have as the creator of this application, you get to determine who has access to this application and who authors it. So that can just be one department, but we wanted to call that out because we've seen a lot of organizations who will allow various departments to send messages to their particular departments as one option. So we got a bunch of different ways to do this. And then the button URL can be any URL you put on there, public or private. That's your call, whatever you want to throw in there. So that yesterday we got asked, can that go to surveys? 100%. Whatever you want to throw in that button URL, you can absolutely do. Sorry, Emma.
No, it's a great call out again because we want you guys to feel as supported as possible, and we want to test these things with you. So if you have an idea and you think it's novel, again, do share it with us because we're keen to help you along the way, and also share this with the community going forward so everyone can learn along the journey. So when we have clicked next, we're going to see this dialog box here where we're able to send our communications to numerous channels. So the first is to send to a general channel of specific team, one-on-one chat to specific people or everyone in the organization, and finally one for sending to groups or distribution lists. So let's dive into each of these a little bit more specifically. So the first, if we want to send a company communication to the general channel of a specific team, as you can see here, we have a drop-down list of teams that you can post that into. Next, for specific people, so if you want a one-to-one chat message type of communication to be sent, you can see here that we can send a communication to a particular group, and they will get that in their one-to-one Teams chat area in the Teams client. The next part is everyone. So we can see this in a number of different scenarios. So maybe crisis comms, COVID related comms, but really, this could cover numerous scenarios where you want everyone across your organization to feel involved in hearing what you have to say. So this could be leadership comms, this could be COVID comms, this could also be kind of like a well-being check-in or survey, something that is needed for everyone. So you might see this kind of red message here. I just wanted to clarify that there are Graph APIs available to programmatically install the app for all or some users. That's because want to push out one-to-one messages for everyone, they will need to have that app installed. So again, we will provide you all the information on how you can do that after the call as well. But just wanted to call that out in case anyone's confused about why that message is showing there on the dialog box. Jace, I don't know whether you wanted to provide any additional
Yeah, I was going to say that's
there.
just a really important point that I think we got to hammer home for everybody is only users who have the application installed or only teams that have the application installed will receive the message. And we do that because we want to help you better control the messages that are going out. Now, if you want to send messages to everyone, like Ernst & Young has done, and we'll show you here in a moment, you can either use Graph APIs or you can use our Microsoft Teams app setup policies where you can pre-install the app for users and teams, which is usually highly recommended if you want to do this organization-wide. But just wanted to call that out. We also got the question yesterday around guests. So Jonathan actually enlightened us this morning on one of the questions I had. If you're sending one-on-one chat to users, you can't send it to guests. If you're sending a general channel message, guests by default will see the message in the general channel because they've been given approval for that team. In all honesty, we don't see a lot of organizations sending messages to general channels. Most of the time it's sent to specific people or to everybody via one-on-one chat, just because that's such a powerful piece of real estate in Teams. And you can cross-post across channels right now, and I personally prefer the formatting within a channel message announcement. But just to call it out there, because there's no right or wrong way to do this, and there's a bunch of ways that everybody can leverage. Thanks, Emma.
No worries at all. So the final channel that you can use to send out your company communicator messages is distribution groups or lists. So you can absolutely choose that using the fourth option below. So once we have decided who we want to send our communication to, we can save the communication as a draft by clicking the button in the bottom right-hand corner, as you can see here. When the content is ready, authorized users can send the messages. So preview in channel, as you can see here, delivers the message in the general channel of this admin team. You can test here to see how your message looks and feels, especially if you've kind of been playing around with different imagery. And we would highly recommend leveraging this option because, once you've clicked it, it's gone out to all your users. So definitely preview the message before you send that out. And on the right-hand side, you can also see that we're able to chat and collaborate with our team before we send messages. So if you want to go to and fro with, multiple drafts, you want to, show people in your team what that looks like before it gets sent out, this is a really great place to do that. So now let's click send and look what happens from a user perspective. So for general channel posts, users will receive a notification badge in their activity feed tile on the left-hand rail, alerting them of this new message. So you can see that at the top left-hand corner of this screenshot. And hopefully,
I'm sorry, my pen's not working. I'm devastated. I can't circle these for you.
No probs. Hopefully everyone can see in the top right-hand corner, but if anyone has any questions, we can absolutely cover that after the session as well. You'll also get access to these slides along with lots of other top tips and FAQs. So you'll see this in much more detail after the call as well. And hopefully you can see in the top left-hand corner the notification, but you can also see on the right-hand side, of course, this is what that message is going to look when you post that to a general channel.
And real quick, Emma, too, when you go back to this slide, if you want to test, so it says preview in this channel just below send. Again, forgive me, I'd love to be able to circle this for everybody. But where the cursor is, right below send, preview in channel, this is exactly what it would look like in the team you created where you and your content creators are managing. So you can actually get a preview for yourself as well. It's a really powerful option.
Great call out there. I need to I need to remember that I need to let the guys on the call know where these things are that I'm referring to. So for the final channel, so if we're sending out company communicator messages in a one-to-one format, so everyone across the organization, or maybe a one-to-one chat, users will receive a new notification badge in their chat title, which are perfect. You zoomed in, brilliant. So you can see this on the top left-hand side. And if you pin your company communicator app for users, like you can see here on the bottom of the rail, you'll also see that company communicator comes with its own notification badge. So again, on the right-hand side, this is what your user will see. But from a notification standpoint, and this is really important, you can see those badges flashing up as a user. So that's going to entice you to want to go in and give that communication a read, rather than be, looped in with all of the other messages they're getting on a day-to-day basis. That's going to really pop up and be really effective for them. And that's it. So back in your content creator tab, you can find message status summaries in the sent messages list, along with a results summary that you can see right here. So you can see here on the bottom left-hand corner, we've got results, we've got success, failure, throttled. But if you want to improve this reporting, going back to what we were talking about earlier, we actually have a variety of tried and tested options for you to leverage here. And you're going to hear from Jonathan and Jason in a moment about how they're going to be doing that at EY going forward, and how they've been doing it over the past few months, and getting that great click-through rate that we're all looking to experience using our company communicator. So Jace, over to you.
Yeah, well said. And again, we'll share these slides so everybody has access to even the click-through piece right there. Now, selfishly, on my favorite slide here is, I think I got it, but just in case, tell me the whole thing again. I wasn't listening. This is one of my favorite quotes from Lego Movie, if anyone's seen it. And I'm not doing this to take the piss or make fun of anybody. You got to hear this stuff a few times, and we're going pretty fast. But we have 5 questions that we most commonly get that I think are worth addressing before we kind of move over and have Jonathan show us what he's doing. First, company communicator message does not need to be sent to every single employee. All right, this can be sent to nobody, frankly, you don't have to, but one person to everybody and everything in between. Bunch of different options. You can absolutely reuse a message you've already sent. So in the creator tab, there's sent messages and draft messages are at the top, sent messages are at the bottom. And you can just duplicate messages that have already been sent and resend them, or edit to send to a different group if you want to adjust your content. You have naming rights, so you can absolutely name it something other than company communicator. Jonathan and team have named theirs EY Tech, which is pretty cool. So whatever makes the most sense for your naming nomenclature, or your naming permissions, et cetera, and whatever's approved within your organization, and frankly, what your people will recognize. Now, how much does this cost? We get this one a lot. There is a cost estimator online. The good news is, regardless of the size of your organization, cost is pretty consistent because most of the costs are fixed. So roughly somewhere around 75 to 100 bucks a month, depending on how many people you send this to, but it's a very incremental adjustment to price based on how many users you send this out to. If you come into this program too, just note that we also have the option to fund your first $1,000 bucks. Now, this is not just to give you a free trial necessarily, but we also think it's an incredible solution. So we wanted to put our money where our mouth is here a bit and offer this up to organizations if cost is a challenge, because we recognize not everybody has the Microsoft budget to do this stuff when they want. And then finally, Emma touched on the last one, which is reporting. So the default reporting is pretty basic. I love what Jonathan and team have done and some clever ways they've gotten around reporting. And we're going to talk about this in great detail for everybody who comes into the initiative on how to do simple reporting without any customization or adding on to any, without making it difficult for you to do it. But there's also a bunch of custom options that you could do for reporting here as well. Now, I'm going to pause real quick. Tim, Michael, folks who have been awesome checking out the chat, anything that we need to address out loud before we go on to, I'm going to do a quick view of what Microsoft's been doing, and then we'll have Jonathan walk us through his experience. But I just want to make sure we call anything else out on the chat if we need to. All good?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
We're hammering through them, Jace.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, cool. So question we had internally was, I'm not sure that our people will want to receive organization-wide communications via chat. And again, we had this same question at Microsoft as we were looking at what we were going to be doing. And so we actually asked our people 2 questions in a survey. And I'm pretty excited to share this because I just got this information from the team that I've been working with who's putting together our comms strategy. And the first question we asked is basically, do you want to receive communications from our IT department and other similar initiatives that we're doing at Microsoft and related to technology? 71% of people surveyed said yes within Microsoft, 15% said no. If you're like me, you're wondering what happened to the other 14%, they were neutral. Okay? Second question was, would you also like to receive communications from other organizations inside of Microsoft, so outside of IT? Because we also wanted to see, look, should our strategy include not just our IT initiatives, but other organizations? And again, this is your culture, this is your decision, this is different for every single organization. I know Jonathan and team are really passionate about keeping things in the IT department, and they've been incredibly successful doing that, and that's what works, and it's awesome. But we just want to call out some of the things we asked our organization, and 77% of people said yes on this one, and only 7% said no. And I think it is because a lot of this stuff gets lost in your email. And to be fair, it can get lost in chat as well, but that's the beauty of pinning it on the left-hand rail for users, is it'll sit right there as your company communicator message. So we got this information and we decided to launch it inside of Microsoft. And these are the 2 people. This is an article that we sent out fairly recently, but our Microsoft IT department set this up. We've been using it with quite a few folks in the organization. To be fair, we haven't gone org-wide yet, but we've been sending it to thousands of people within Microsoft. Pretty incredible NSAT of 169, really high NSAT score right there. And this is some of the post results from survey after sending out our first 8 messages that we received from users within Microsoft. So I'll just leave that up on the screen there for a second. Yeah, sorry. So Tim, thanks for calling that out while folks read this. The 85% view rate was what we've seen organizations do in terms of how many people are reading the cards. So I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Jonathan, because we've talked about it, but I know that's your guys' view rate. So when you send out 322,000 messages, your average view rate is somewhere around 85% in terms of how many people are actually clicking on that message that you're sending people in chat and reading it. Now, the click rate is how many people are clicking on the button. And so we'll talk through that in a moment for those nuances, but just wanted to call that out because Tim posted it in the chat. When I was sharing these results, this was how many people were interested in actually us deploying this solution at Microsoft and the communication strategy that we're going to have around it, just to clarify. And so we did. Here were the results. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but you're Microsoft. We get this one a lot. Right? We're not going to do this unless we hear from one of your customers who's already done it. And so we're lucky enough to have Jonathan Danowitz from Ernst & Young today. So let's talk about some real life scenarios and where this has worked inside of organizations. So Jonathan, thanks so much, Stu, for joining us. We've absolutely abused the relationship with you in the most positive way. So thank you for spending more time with us than you already have.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Hey, I'm going to stay off of video if you guys don't mind. I'm not feeling great. I had, for those who didn't hear, I had my first Moderna shot and not feeling my best today. So I'll do my best to get through this.
You got it, man. I'm happy to help guide too. And look, one of the things we talked about as we were looking at doing this section is before we even get into what you guys did, what was of course so important was the strategy that you built around your technology and the way that you were going to build a comm strategy as well. Could you maybe walk us through some of the things that you all think about inside of Ernst & Young as you were putting this together? And again, outside of just company communicator.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So thanks for having me. And I'm really excited to kind of showcase some of this work here. First thing is, can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay. So let's kind of take a step back. We'll talk a lot about company communicator in a moment. And Jace, please keep steering me, into where you need me to go as well too, because God knows I have more slides than I could ever want or need. The way that Ernst & Young kind of looks at content, we first set up what we call a foundation, and that foundation is understanding the best practice for content and communication. And I don't think I'm going to showcase much in here that probably most folks don't know, but it's really important to set that tone before you even start creating any of your content. And I'm just going to go over just a few of these, and we'll kind of rip through some of these and get back into company communicator. So first is we always think through kind of layout, right? So layout of your content is super important for us. It has to have a good flow. It has to contribute to the story that you're trying to tell. If you don't have that right layout, You're going to confuse the customer from what you're trying to convey to them to what they're actually seeing, right? So super important there. We'll kind of go straight down the line. The next is know your audience. And I'm sure everybody's like, yeah. I got to tell you, this is our number one. Why I think we're super successful is before we deploy or send any communications out, if it's not global in nature, we really take a hard look of who is that audience? What service line are they? What are they trying to do? Who are they? Are they working with external customers, internal customers? And by knowing those specific, features, functions, we can get the right communication out to them to help them be super successful to generate revenue, right? And then last here is lead with scenarios. Scenarios are a big deal for us. We need to connect with, we don't want to just send these just features out, right? We want to kind of give them an experience that when they get this type of content, they can kind of relate to what they do for a living or what they're trying to accomplish to help in their day-to-day roles. And next, we look at communications, right? So we'll kind of go through these pretty quickly. But again, when we think about communications, we really want to kind of make sure that we tell the user what's in it for them, right? Focus on the user. This really isn't, it sounds funny here, these communications are not for you, right, that you're sending them out. They're for people that you're sending them to, and it needs to be relevant. And what I did here quickly, I'll kind of blow this up here, is we actually sent this first communication on the left, I think I did it too much here, out to a pilot group. And when we sent this out to a pilot group, I got to tell you, we got a very low rate of return to the point that we were trying to get them. And you'll see, we just kind of called it modern meetings. We didn't really kind of have any taglines here. The customers really didn't know what we were trying to send to them. And so after applying our best practices kind of above, we went from a very low rate of return, and I think we increased that return anywhere from 8 to 12% just by using our best practice principles, right? You can kind of see the differences here. So it's super important to ensure that before you look at content, send content, understand content, have a strategy, right? Have an adoption strategy for the content itself, have an adoption strategy for the communication itself, apply those strategies. But most important, right down here is, and I showcase this at the end, is what's your review process? Don't just kind of what I call grip it and rip it and send it out. So once that communication, once that content is ready, make sure you send it through a nice approval process, get the right groups to review, and then send out your comms. So sort of pause there. And Jace, just want to see if you want me to.
If I can reiterate, there's clearly a lot of interest, and you're hitting home a lot of great things. And I know you're like me, and these things sound simple, but they're really profound, right? And it becomes so easy. And I'm constantly giving a hard time to folks on the team that I work on at Microsoft, because we will send communications out to our poor customer success managers that are too quick, and they're forced, and they're done in a selfish way. And I don't mean that negatively, but they're done because we just need to get out of communication. And go, guys, you don't need to get out of communication, and nobody's going to read the communication if that's your purpose behind it. You need to tell people, why do they care? And you guys are just such a perfect example. And for everybody here on the call, we're going to talk through the initiative here in a moment, but this, Jonathan and team have truly inspired us. And this is why we did the program in the first place, because so much of this experience is what we want to replicate. Yes, this is absolutely about deploying an application, but it's more so about the communication strategy that goes with it and beyond it. So even if you're not using Microsoft tech, so much of this stuff can be leveraged later. So sorry, I'll get off my soapbox, Jonathan, but it's such a great point.
No, I appreciate that. I think the next piece, and I know I'm limited on time, so I'm going to kind of rush through some of these. One thing I do talk to other customers, whether it's for EY, even for Microsoft, and I'm constantly asking them, well, what offerings do you have, right? And are you actually giving them and talking to them with your customers, right? And so what we've done is we've created this kind of single page here where we say, hey, here's our formats that we can offer you content in, and here's the channels that we can include them in, right? And so We talk about if there's somebody says, hey, well, what is a one pager? What's a bite-sized, guys? We kind of have information about each of them. If you guys need to know what they are, I'll send them out to this group as well too. But this really helps drive your customers to understand what needs and what their wants are and what you're going to help to deliver for them. So let's talk a little bit about, Jason, I think you want to talk about our one pagers here.
Yeah, can you tell everybody, because there's a lot of questions around click rates, and I love the way you guys have approached this. Is your goal, of course, is to grip attention with the adaptive card, but then send people to the one pager, which is what we've recreated for the program. But why you guys do it, how you do it, I think is so valuable and important, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so we'll jump right into Company Communicator. How about that?
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So you'll see here, and I think we talked a little bit about what we do at E&Y is we pinned first and foremost Company Communicator here on the left-hand rail, as well as you can receive it as a chat within your chat bot up here. And so the reason we put and pinned it for everybody is we at EY, we want everyone to be sticky within teams. We want you to stay in teams. But we're really fighting for your attention as well up here, right? So you're moving things from email over to Teams. When you do that, you still need to fight for what I call eye attention, right? The attention of these chat bots coming in or these adaptive cards coming in. So by pinning on the left-hand rail, you can see here, I can just have my customers come right to our EY Tech and they can see the last X amount of cards that we sent. This particular card, and I'll get into our one pagers here in a moment, is we actually included a GIF inside the card. And so you'll see some of our top, we call out up here where it says Team's top tip. So now as a customer, you know that this is a quick tip. So we're telling you right off the bat what this is. We're telling you to navigate to recently visited locations. And we're showing you with a GIF how to get there. And we also will give you some quick information down here at the bottom. So, Jason, I know you somebody had said, "Hey, how much information, do you want to add?" I'm not here to tell you how much you want to add. You can certainly add a lot, but if you keep it limited and you keep it really focused, this is all customers really are looking for: is quick hit information. What do I need? How do I get there? How can I get it quickly?
Yeah, I just get nervous when we get the question on character limit. So I'm thinking, all right,
yeah,
this shouldn't be a story down here, right? This is to your point, quick stuff.
The other one I'll show you up here that we've done here is you asked about sort of we have the ability here to another Teams top tip. This is sort of make Microsoft Teams work for you. We have whatever image that we are looking to put in here, and you'll see down here. This is where we talk about that action rate, right? So what this does is this will bring somebody out to either a SharePoint site. Oh, I didn't realize that this was one of our flip books, but this will bring you out to another site where this is the action rate that we have the ability to use Adobe Analytics to see what's happening when you go to a specific SharePoint site to look at specific content that we're looking for you to review. Let me, oops, I'm on the wrong. Let me show you a kind of a one pager that I think we had here.
Hey, Jonathan, as you're pulling it up too, maybe worth calling out. So as part of this initiative, we're going to give folks a bunch of different options, whether it's low investment all the way up to if you have a full analytics suite like Ernst & Young does, but we want to assume that you're coming in with nothing. Hopefully we're wrong there. And so what we've been doing internally is we just point people to the one pager in the SharePoint list, and we track the rates of clicks from there. So essentially we know how many people we sent a message out to, and we know how many people actually visited the message. Now, that's obviously not ideal, but it's a place to start. I love that you guys are using Adobe Analytics. You can track the granular details of the usage.
Yeah. So you can get real specific on, it's not just the action or the click rate. You can see, did they go to that specific one pager? Did they then find value? How long were they there? Where did they go next? And is there an affinity that they have with other countries that they're looking at, or they talk? There's so much information that you can get from Adobe Analytics to really help you understand the data points. And I say this sort of lightly, without data, and I say this to my team all the time, you're just another person with an opinion. So get your data. I can't stress that enough. Having that type of data really makes you super valuable to your customers because now you know what they want and what they need. And so here's sort of a one pager where if you click, you kind of come to, we're sort of experimenting. I don't want to get too deep into this with other products where we have these tags here. So you can see this is a single one pager. We now have the ability to add these little kind of beacon tags that gives you more information within the one pager. So you're now not being pushed out. We add additional GIFs in here, or we can actually add additional kind of beacon or tags down here where we can start videos, right? So this is kind of a Microsoft video. I don't know if you guys have seen this, where there's sort of noise suppression. So we can really start to add a lot of great value within these single one pagers here.
Yeah, these are awesome, man. These have come a long way.
Yeah. Happy to kind of go into how we build them, Jace, or what are you looking for next?
I was going to say, JD, so what we've done is, again, you inspired us. So Emma's going to introduce the program we're working on here in a moment, but probably unbeknownst to you is we've just built 24 of these for teams and very much inspired by your work. And so they're not as cool as what you've done on ThinkLink, but that's going to be part of the initiative is where do you get started? Our customer success managers who have been living and breathing this for 4 years have taken what Ernst & Young have done. We want to replicate it. And frankly, we also love to have the community start building some of these and sharing them. So that's going to be part of this initiative. We'll go into more details, but I'd love to, we got a couple of minutes left with you. Can you talk through the impact, whatever you can share that this has had on your organization? Because I know you guys have a very close partnership with Corp Comms, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, so the way that we have partnered with our communications and corporate communications team is really to use this for tips and tricks today. So this is how we use it. I'm not suggesting you can't use it for something different. We do not use this for kind of outages, right? Because it takes a little bit of time to, when you click start, to get to the last person. What happens obviously in the first hour of an outage is very different than happens in the second, third, fourth hour. We are using this for Teams standard tips and tricks. We have increased almost any time we send a tech card out, I think Jason was referencing, we are seeing a minimum of a 22% increase in that specific tip or trick that we've sent out. And so for a 300,000 person plus company, that is a monster number for us to say we've gotten that much action for a specific feature that we're trying to showcase. And so it's not just around, hey, can we get them there? It's that sustainability as well too with those features, right? So we are not looking to have this spike of, hey, we want you to check out the noise suppression and it spikes up because we send the card out. We're really looking for you to start to utilize that specific feature and function and keep that kind of momentum where it's at a steady level instead of just kind of that peak and valley where, hey, I saw this feature, I looked at it, what am I supposed to do with it?
That's awesome, man. That's just incredible success. Dude, we're so much in your debt. Thank you so much for spending time with us again, for showing a lot of folks. I mean, if you haven't seen the chat, there's a lot of people very excited by what you're doing. We'll keep the Q&A going on chat, but what we wanted to spend the last 10 minutes on, and thanks again, Jonathan, so awesome. We're hoping that at this point, this is what you're thinking. You've seen what Jonathan and Ernst & Young are doing, and you're saying, all right, I want that. I want to do something similar to that. And that's exactly why we brought everybody together here today. So with the last 10 minutes, Emma's going to walk us through what we're going to help you replicate within your organizations. So Emma, I'll pass back over to you.
Sure. Yeah, Jonathan, thank you so much. It's awesome to see the why and how this works in practice. And I think, it's really important to remember that, your organization is one of the largest companies on the planet. So to see you guys do it and have such broad success is just phenomenal. So yeah, again, thank you so much for taking the time. So as Jace mentioned, we have spent tons of time pre-populating a very large number of categorized one-pager adoption resources ready for you guys to leverage to run your first company communicator adoption campaign. So remember, when we say these are pre-populated, these aren't by marketing folk or product folk. These are your customer success managers all across the Microsoft organization creating these for you based based on the conversations we're having day in and day out. And these are filled with kind of tips and tricks, and they're relatively informal, and they're all guiding your users to maximize their meetings, teamwork, and productivity, just like you saw at EY there from Jonathan. So these are going to be available for you to source from the Microsoft Teams Broadcast Hub site, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, along with lots of other goodies along the way, which we'll talk about in a moment. And these one-pagers, as Jace mentioned, can be hosted in your own SharePoint online environment, so you can track how successful your campaigns are, see your click rates, and ultimately, see the success of Company Communicator as a communication channel in your organization. And that's not all. We have a number of activities planned across the next 6 weeks for you. So first, we'll be wrapping up this kickoff call. This is our second, this is our Western call. We had our Eastern yesterday. And we'll be asking yourself or one of your Microsoft representatives to nominate you for the program. Then, once we've got all the nominations in, we'll be sending all nominees a welcome email, giving you access to a community team of like-minded professionals that are using Company Communicator or building out Company Communicator to their own unique business needs, access to a recurring set of office hours over the next 6 weeks. So us at Microsoft can help you to plan, deploy, and get the best out of Company Communicator. So you can see that those will be happening on the screen here between the 4th of May and the 2nd of June. As part of this, of course, you'll get access to all of those, that adoption material, as well as the deck that you've seen today, a click-through demo with tons of FAQs and tips and tricks on how to deploy this as well. So you'll be fully supported across the next 6 weeks. And finally, you'll see a graduation from the program at the end of this timeline. So this is when you'll be provided with additional materials to leverage going forward. So you can really expand out just from the technology tips and tricks into things like leadership comms, company-wide surveys, and more, some of those that we touched on a little bit earlier on in the presentation. So, last but not least, if you are ready to join us and start leveraging the power of the Company Communicator, we would now love for you guys on the call to take a snap of this QR code that you see on the screen and nominate yourselves to get into the program. If you're not feeling comfortable in doing that, or you're having any issues, please do ask your Microsoft representative to do so on your behalf. I know we've had some really keen customers ahead of time nominate already, so we've already got a bunch of customers that are interested and ready to get going. But if you haven't done so already, please do get yourself nominated, and you'll see that welcome message coming into your inbox over the next few days. So if you have any additional questions, obviously we've got around kind of 6 minutes before the top of the hour. We would love to take this now. I can see that there's a few, perhaps some questions in the chat, but again, if you don't want to ask these here, or you need a little bit of time just to digest all of the information that we've shared with you today, feel free to reach out to us after the call as well. So you can email or send a Teams chat to Jace or myself, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible with any information you need. And that's everything from me. Jace, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll pause for a bit and I'll stay on later if we have some more questions. But there's two that just came up. So I only see the name as T Carpenter. So whoever asked about the cost, I'll send out the FAQs right after this call when we have the recording and the slides ready. Again, average cost is around $75 a month. So I'd imagine that might not be that difficult to get that approved. However, again, we also have Azure Pass credit. So if you have an Azure subscription, we'll give you $1,000 to do this. Now, again, somebody asked yesterday, and I'm going to be really blunt and honest here. This isn't a free trial of technology is the way we're looking at it. Hopefully today what came out is this is a way to reinvigorate how we communicate with our people. However, we do want to support making that easy for folks, and we recognize it's not always easy to get a budget for this, especially at the beginning when you're trying to prove the value. So we're happy to support that as we go through. You just need to ask your Microsoft rep to fill it out, and we'll get that sorted. And again, I'll send out the cost estimates so you can actually see it. All the cost estimates are sitting up on GitHub for this as well. Let me pause though. Michael, Tim, all the folks, Nash, who have been on the back end answering a bunch of questions. Thank you. Anything we missed that's worth calling out in the last 4 minutes here? Or if anybody has a question, feel free to pop off mute. Happy to take it.
Yeah, Jace, one question, and I think just from thematically from our GCC customers is around timing. Yeah, this is a 6-week initiative, and our plan is to support you through this with the office hours. However, as I expressed in my message back to Brian, we are in this for the long haul. This is not your traditional Microsoft campaign of 3 months, end of year, fiscal year. We are like, okay, on to the next thing. We're in this for the long haul with y'all. We recognize for some organizations, 6 weeks seems like a abhorrently short amount of time. And we will stick with you, and the community of the Teams Broadcast Hub will still be here when the 6 weeks are over. So expect ongoing support.
Yeah, great ad. And if you notice on these timelines, so we're going to start bringing people into the team and the community next week. We're giving 2 weeks between that time and the office hours starting. And we've had Alexi, who's one of our, as I'm calling them, the tech legends. We've got about 6 of them around the globe at a minimum who will be a part of this as we go through, has already put together some simple guidance on your I wouldn't call them prerequisites, but some of the prerequisites for the application itself, as well as preparing for this in your organization. And those are built off of experience. We're going to give you those, and we're going to give you content before every office hour to prepare for that office hour. And then again, we're going to have the Teams community where we're going to ask folks to share their questions. If you don't feel comfortable, have your Microsoft rep ask the question or ask me, happy to. But there's going to be some incredible opportunity to get some best practice sharing and troubleshooting throughout the community. And then again, we'll cover that in the office hours as we go. I can't reiterate Michael's point enough, is the last thing on the bottom right hand on the slide there is around graduation and moving forward. Let me pull that up. We're going to cover this throughout the 6 or the 8 weeks, I guess, we'll spend together. We're absolutely going to have next step plans and options available. So do you want to customize the solution after the program? Do you want to look at complementary solutions that will supplement your comm strategy? Or do you want to just tackle your next scenario, whatever that looks like? We're absolutely in this for the long haul. And to Michael's point, that's why I was so excited to plan this with 6 customer success managers, because we're not going to do the typical, all right, we've got targets to hit in Q4 at Microsoft. This is our Q4 right now, so we're going to go after this program. We want to help leverage what you just saw from Jonathan and team to deliver in your organization in a way that it makes sense, but also impact your future comm strategy. So hopefully that helps. Anything else?
Nothing standing out in the chat unanswered. But if
Awesome.
there is something that you asked and we missed it, please feel free to come off mute or just to post it in the chat again.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for your time. Absolutely a pleasure. Hopefully we see some of you in the initiative. And again, we're going to make these available regardless of whether or not you join the initiative, because we imagine a lot of people will want to use these one-pagers as part of their campaign. So once those are ready, we'll share those. Just make sure you stay in touch with your Microsoft rep and let us know if you want to be a part of this. We'd love to have you on board and support your journey. But thank you all. Have a great rest of the week and very much appreciate the time. Huge shout out again before we leave to Emma, from Michael, Nash, and Tim on the back end, and of course, Jonathan. Again, I feel like we've abused your time, man, if you're still on the call, but you're not feeling great. You just took a shot. I'm glad you got the vaccine, but thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing your wisdom.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all. Bye.